I'm Akanksha Upadhyay. Let's begin with the main stories. President of Transport Entrepreneurs Federation Yogendra Karmacharya along with 3 office bearers arrested. Arrestees to undergo charges of disrupting essential public services. Parties agree on the provision of lower house regulation allowing lawmakers facing criminal charges to continue in office. US President Donald Trump outrages French opinion by suggesting the 2015 attacks on Paris could have been stopped by giving people guns. And Stoke City's 10 years stay in English Premier League comes to an end following a loss against Crystal Palace. West Brom keeps its relegation fight alive with a win over Tottenham. Entrepreneurs, including its president Yogendra Karmacharya, yesterday were arrested. Meanwhile, the number of entrepreneurs taken into custody for obstructing the public transportation has reached 111. The government is preparing to launch the case of imposing strike on emergency services against the arrestees. Officials at the Home and Transport Management Ministries held discussion over the matter yesterday. The public in general too have insisted against any kind of settlement with the entrepreneurs who resorted to protest in a bid to sustain their illicit cartel. Legal experts are also of the view that no one standing against the government's attempt to scrap transport syndicate should be spared of legal prosecution. Meanwhile, tension has loomed within the Transport Federation following the government's persistent crackdown on the syndicate and action against entrepreneurs. Conceding to the same, the entrepreneurs have lately appeared willing to abide by the government's decision. The Federation of National Transport Entrepreneurs, however, is yet to make an official decision in this respect. The government has initiated stern action against the businesses going against its decision by making arrests and scrapping their route permit, along with freezing the entrepreneurs' bank accounts. The public, however, is still in fear if the government would move back from the decision in one or the other pretext. The government officials, nonetheless, have insisted that no one should be allowed to refrain from legal accountability. Consumer rights activists too have insisted that there should be no agreement with the businesses whatsoever in the favor of transport syndicate, which is a public offence and a blatant disregard towards the consumer's right. Let's now move on to the national political updates. The major parties have finalized regulation of the House of Representatives embracing the provision of not suspending parliamentarians accused of criminal activities. Now lawmakers will enjoy leeway to defend themselves against even the cases of serious or morally demeaning nature while still in office. Even after being accused of any serious offence, lawmakers will now refrain in custody or attend court hearings in the very capacity of their position. The salaries and allowances will only be halted in such cases. There had been an intense debate among parties at the Parliamentary Regulation Drafting Committee on whether or not to allow lawmakers accused of crime to continue in their position. As CP and UML was in favour of suspending such lawmakers, Nepali Congress, Rashtriya Janata Party and Sanghiya Samajwadi stood firm against the proposition. Anticipating the provision of outright suspension would affect the cases related to the peace process, CP and Maoist Centre had put forth the alternative of holding only salaries and facilities of any accused parliamentarian until the case is sorted out. The decision in this regard has been taken as per the midway suggested by the Maoist Centre. The regulation will come into effect by being endorsed by the second session of the lower house starting from today. With this, we'll take a short break here. More news when we come back. Welcome back. And it's now time for a segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Your question, what's your take on the decision to not suspend lawmakers accused of crime? Your options are A, syndicate in politics, B, abuse of authority, and C, vigilance against retaliation. The voting for the question is on. You can type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 8080 to share your opinions with us. Now, the Bhutanese refugees have requested the Prime Ministers of both Nepal and India for initiation to help them return to their country. Taking into account the upcoming state visit of Indian Premier Narendra Modi to Nepal, the refugees have made such a request to both the Prime Ministers via an open letter. The refugees displaced by religious and racial conflicts in Bhutan have been residing in Nepal for the past 30 years in different temporary camps set up in Chapa and Morang districts. Among the total 120,000 Bhutanese refugees, around 112,000 have been resettled in third countries during the past 10 years, including the US, Europe and Australia. Almost 9,000 refugees, however, are still in Nepal who missed registration or refused to be rehabilitated in third countries. They are now willing to return to their own homeland. Even the process of relocating the refugees to third countries has recently come to halt. The Bhutanese government, however, has not allowed a single refugee to return home. There had been several talks between the governments of Nepal and Bhutan in a bid to solve the refugee problem, but to no avail. Bhutan's democratic leader, Teknath Rizal, thus has written an open letter of request right before the arrival of the Indian Prime Minister in Nepal, citing that the support of the Indian side was crucial in this respect. Thousands of Nepali-speaking and Hindu Bhutanese have been rendered homeless due to the harsh treatment inflicted on them by the Bhutanese government. Many of them are still imprisoned in Bhutan. The refugees are still hopeful that they could return to their country if the Indian government lent its support to Nepal in its effort to do away with the crisis. India, however, so far has been shying away by pointing towards the Bhutanese government. The refugees have urged Nepal to strongly put forth the issue in the international forum so as to ensure a meaningful outlet. Now, in this context, we asked the Bhutanese refugees living in different camps in Chapa why didn't they want to go to a third country and what would they want now. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
जानुपर्ने चाहिँ विदेशै थियो मेरो त थिन त बुवा जेबेटी हुनाले गर्दा बुवालाई रुँगेर बस्नु बाध्यता परेर बसेको हो म त हुनु चाहिँ यहाँ चाहिँ
बाहिर विदेश अब नलाने भएपछि नेपाल सरकारले यहाँनिर परिवेश राम्रोसँगले मिलाइदियो भने राम्रो हुन्थ्यो
भुटान फर्केर त के गरी खानु र अब सकिँदैन होला अब यही बस्दा पनि सुविधाहरु सबै हुँदा त यही नै बस्दा ठिकै छ
मेरो फ्यामिलीमा सबैलाई लगिसके अमेरिका हैन म मात्रै छु डिनाइ केस भएर बसेको अब मलाई पनि यहाँनिर बस्दाखेरि फ्यासिलिटी हुनु पर्यो किनभने मलाई उतै पुर्याइदिनु पर्यो
हाम्रो परिवारहरु गइसकेको छन् हैन अनि हाम्रो लागि चाहिँ बरु उता पुनर्वास चाहिँ खोलिदिए चाहिँ राम्रो हुन्थ्यो अनि हामी जेबीटी केसमा छौं हाम्रो जेबीटी चाहिँ चाँडै गरिदिए चाहिँ हामीलाई अति नै राम्रो हुन्थ्यो
Time now for the international update. US President Donald Trump has outraged French opinion by suggesting the 2015 attacks on Paris could have been stopped by giving people guns. He mimicked gunmen summoning and shooting victims and using his hand to imitate a gun being fired. In reality, attackers sprayed many of their 130 victims with semi-automatic fire and set off bomb belts. The French Foreign Ministry called for the victims' memory to be respected. France expresses its firm disapproval of the comments by President Donald Trump about the attacks of 13 November 2015 in Paris and asks for the memory of the victims to be respected, the Foreign Ministry said. Francois Hollande, who was French president at the time of the attack, said Trump's remarks were shameful. They said a lot about what he thinks of France and its values, he added. Manuel Valls, who was France's prime minister in 2015, tweeted, "Indecent and incompetent. What more can I say?" In the same speech to the National Rifle Association NRA in Dallas, Texas, the US president criticized the level of knife crime in London, comparing one of the city's hospitals to a war zone. A senior London surgeon, Professor Karim Grohi, hit back by saying it was ridiculous to suggest guns could help combat knife violence. North Korea has changed time zone to match the South after last week's Inter-Korean summit, a move seen as a great friendship gesture. KCNA News Agency of North Korea reported the reset is the first practical step to speed up Korean unification, the officials said. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says he has a date for the meeting with the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un. President Trump did not share details on the time and place for the landmark meeting with Kim. It is expected to happen in May or early June. Trump had previously expressed a preference for meeting in the demilitarized zone between the North and South Korea, but Singapore is also an option. Trump will host South Korea's President Moon Jae-in at the White House on 22nd of May to discuss the upcoming meeting. We have more news coming up, but right now we'll take yet another short break.
Sports news.
Stoke City's 10-year stay in English Premier League has come to an end. Stoke's relegations was confirmed following a 2-1 loss against Crystal Palace last night. Stoke City took a lead against Crystal Palace in front of its home crowd, but could not maintain the lead for long. The 46th-minute free kick from Jadar Chikiri was the only goal for Stoke City. Crystal Palace stunned Stoke with a superb comeback in the second half. James McArthur equalised for Crystal Palace in the 68th minute. Crystal Palace sealed the victory when Van Aanholt scored in the 86th minute. Stoke haven't won a single match in their last 13 outings. Stoke will be facing Swansea in their last game of the season on Sunday. In another match played last night, West Brom registered a dramatic win against Tottenham with an injury time goal to keep their hopes of survival in the top flight of English football alive. Now, Karma Chering Sherpa has been elected as the president of All Nepal Football Association. Sherpa received 63 votes to defeat his rival candidate Mani Kumar in the election held after 3.5 years after former president Ganesh Thapa was banned. Kumar, who had earlier said that he would not take part in the election process, citing that convention was being held against the ANFA statute, received 12 votes. The 16th General Convention that was held in Lalitpur also elected a new working committee of the country's footballing governing body. Representatives from 75 districts had taken part in the convention. Pankaj Bikram Nemwang, Upendra Man Singh, Krishna Bahadur Thapa and Bir Bahadur Khatka are from Sherpa's panel, were elected as vice presidents. After the election of Karma's panel, former ANFA president Ganesh Thapa congratulated the winners via a Facebook message. In his message, Thapa said that he was confident that all would work in a united fashion in the days ahead to develop Nepalese football. Sunrisers Hyderabad have climbed to the top of the Indian Premier League with a win over Delhi Daredevils in a match played last night. Electing to bat first at Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium, Delhi posted 163 runs for the loss of 5 wickets. Prithvi Shah scored 65 runs at the top of the order of Delhi. After scoring 95 runs in the first 10 overs, Delhi could only manage 67 runs to post a below-par total. Hyderabad achieved the required total of 164 runs in 19.5 overs. Yusuf Pathan scored 27 runs in 12 balls to make the victory possible. Alex Hales contributed a hard-hitting 45 runs to give a good start to the Hyderabad chase. In today's matches under Indian Premier League, Mumbai takes on Kolkata Knight Riders, followed by a clash between Kings 11 Punjab and Rajasthan Royals. And now, before we wrap up, here's a look at the top stories one more time. President of Transport Entrepreneurs Federation Yogendra Karmacharya along with 3 office bearers arrested. Arrestees to undergo charges of disrupting essential public services. Bodies agree on the provision of lower house regulation allowing lawmakers facing criminal charges to continue in office. US President Donald Trump outrages French opinion by suggesting the 2015 attacks on Paris could have been stopped by giving people guns. And Stoke City's 10-year stay in English Premier League comes to an end following a loss against Crystal Palace. West Brom keeps its relegation fight alive with a win over Tottenham. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. Keep watching Kantipur TV HD for more news and entertainment. Have a good day.